Alright then, looks like we are live. Hello there everyone, and welcome to a brand new Sonic Roboblast 2 stream. Now, in today's stream, we're planning, like I said last time, to play through the game with each of the members of Team New in order to continue servicing our goal of replaying every character in the game, ready for my SRB2 character ranking. We are currently on approximately between 65 and, laugh it up, 67 characters ranked so far out of 123. And in today's episode, we're going to go through the members of Team New by Buggy. There's something else to their name, but Buggy, and see how it goes. So we'll start in order. We'll go in the order that the game lays them out. We'll start with Sonic. So this is Sonic New. You know where Team New got the name from. There's also recent Tails, and then latest edition Knuckles. Now, the main kind of linking point, if you will, between each of the members of Team New is the frankly ridiculous amount of stuff they've got on their movesets. So already you can see that just Sonic alone, he's got the Psy Loop from Sonic Frontiers, he's got the Spring from... I always took this guy as feeling kind of like a version you might find in Smash Bros, mostly because he's got the spring thing going on. And now the Awesome says hello, good to see you. And now it's a little bit earlier than usual this stream, and that is because this is planned to be somewhat of a two-parter. I said in the last episode that the plan is on these new streams to do 2 hours of gameplay. That is, you know, SRB2, whatever game we might be playing that week or that stream. At the moment, lots of SRB2. And then the second half, it will be dedicated to Blender, because that's something I'm learning at the moment, and there's no better way to learn quickly than to embarrass yourself in front of a live audience. The social same and such is quite a good motivator to learn quickly, so that's what we're doing with the second half of the stream, most likely. I think I've got Blender working now, so that's actually coming up on my OBS. Not entirely sure what the problem was last time, but it should be solved. Now, I'm not quite sure what the idea is with Sonic New. Like, in terms of what they were trying to achieve. Obviously, overhaul of vanilla Sonic, but what's the kind of the aim beyond that? Why have they put together the changes they've made? Have they just randomly selected a list of abilities, or was there an underlying philosophy here? Once we get through Eggman, I'll show you. So you've seen a couple other changes so far. You have the Psy Loop, of course, that's via Custom 1. You'll notice that we're not spin dashing when we press the spin button. We instead dash forward, like that. If we spin while moving, we have the control roll, I believe. The idea is it gives us a bit more control over where we go. You can see that we've got an effect behind us. That's apparently something to do with acceleration. I'm not sure what the difference is, how it changes. You have a walkling that you can see here, which resets our abilities when we use it. Custom 1's the Psy Loop. Custom 2, it's not doing anything. Is it? Ah, yes. Holding L2 in the air kinda does this. I think it's called like the quick spin or something like that. The idea is that you can bounce. You can gain quite a bit of momentum using it. There is a way to home in on enemies, but I'm not sure what the button is. Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on. I'm barely scratching the surface of the moveset, and yet here I am going, what does this do? What does this do? So there's a lot here. It's maybe a bit more confusing than it could do with being. Don't really know what I was trying to go for there. Alright, let's just go the normal way. Hope the buzz doesn't come at us from behind. Oh, that was close. I was looking at chat and then Buzz just barely snuck behind us. Right, what are people saying? Looks like a Frontiers kind of thing. I think this came out before Frontiers, if I remember correctly, the original version of Sonic New. I think he came out when they'd kind of revealed Frontiers and we started to see gameplay, but I don't think Frontiers had been released properly when he came out. So I think any comparisons there are sort of somewhat incidental. I don't think they're looking at Frontiers for inspiration. Oh, camera's a bit strange. Frontiers, but I guess it's just random abilities. Yeah, it does feel somewhat unfocused. There's a lot of stuff going on, and this is going to be a common theme with all of the members of Sonic New. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and it doesn't really feel like there was much of a plan behind it. Apparently I can run on the ceiling, that looked like. I think it was mainly to make Sonic more balanced and for new player friendly, while also making him good for pros. Huh. Makes sense. And then Crossover 994 says, thoughts on MRCE as of now? You're going to need to clarify. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there by MRCE. Unless it's some acronym for the character pack that I'm unaware of. Like, yeah, I suppose it works. I think it's maybe a bit complicated for the supposed claim that it is for new players. But I can see how this guy would be an improvement for returning players, experienced players. You can do a lot of stuff. I'm not sure it really works for Sonic. I do think Sonic should be quite simple in comparison to the other members of the cast. You know, just very quick. Mystic Realm Community Edition, that's the MRCE thing. I played some of it. I played through it a while ago. Never recorded anything or made any scripts or whatever. I didn't really enjoy myself, but I was aware that it was still under active development. Yeah, I wasn't enjoying myself. I think it was that I finished the game. Like, I finished the story of it. I left, I went and selected one of the earlier levels to go and grab some Chaos Emeralds. And then when I returned to it, it wasn't allowing me to change the level back. And that got me so annoyed that I just didn't play it again. It was like, really? You're going to go and effectively reset all of my progress for no reason? It just annoyed me. So I don't think I played more of it. Which, you know, make of that as you will, but I didn't enjoy myself. Oh, okay, Jaws didn't get me. We'll go this way. Again, there's so much going on with this character, even including the stuff that I'm not able to use for one reason or another. I'm not entirely sure what the best routes to take with him are. We'll go this way so we can do them on the bridge. There was an older version of the game. I think it was around here. Somewhere in Deep Sea, there was just a single blue ring where the lighting or something must have broken, and they just replaced its effect in it, and it looked very strange because it was just this singular blue ring in the middle of Deep Sea, surrounded by the usual goldeny, yellowy ones. So it was a bit odd. I think it was around there. Let's just bounce right to the end. There's definitely more stuff going. Oh, got something in my throat. Oh, yeah, there's definitely something more here that I'm not quite sure how to trigger. We'll take this top route this time. There's a whole thing where you can combo off of enemies in particular ways, but I'm just not sure how you're supposed to trigger it. Jump's a bit awkward. To be fair, I do remember when I was playing Team New, I do remember that Sonic was my least favourite, I think, because I just found him to be overly complicated and just too much. Crossover, once again bringing up Mystic Realm, asks, how long ago did I play it? It was 0.6, it was a huge overhaul to the whole mod. Now every level is technically been updated, though still nothing for Prismatic Angel. It was a while ago, I want to say maybe 8 or 9 months ago. Again, I didn't record anything, so I don't have any, like, definitive knowledge. I think someone somewhere, it might have been on my Discord, it might have been in a comment or something, brought it up. And, you know, I went and looked at it out of curiosity. But yeah, I'm sure it probably has been updated. I think it'd been updated pretty rapidly around the time that I was playing it. So yeah, I have no doubt it will be better than when I played it, but that's why I haven't done anything with it yet, just because it's still in development, and seeing as I didn't enjoy the first version I played, I just want to give it the opportunity to develop a little bit further. Ooh, nearly got stuck. Is there a I swear I saw like a phantom item box just there. I swear. Maybe my eyes playing tricks on me. But yeah, I still don't really know what to make of him. Again, other than just the very obvious... Oh, give me a sec. Oh, sorry. I think I still got a bit of a cold from the last stream. Oh. Yeah, sorry if I sound a little bit off. In general, something about recording on streams, my voice, my throat gets really dry. I don't know what it is about streaming, but in comparison to playing Let's Plays and playthrough episodes and stuff, I find my voice gets really dry really quickly. Maybe it's just the more casual tone or something. But yeah, there will be other games and stuff on these streams eventually. It's just the fact that for the time being, we've got this big looming project of the character ranking. So that's what we're having to make our way through. So it has been a lot of character replays. I think pretty much the entirety of this, every stream I've done this year has been SRB2 character rankings. I think maybe there might have been some crossroads at some point. But it's just a case of we need to get through this. Well, we don't need to, but over time we've got to work through this character ranking. So just get through everyone, you know. Takes some time, but it is what it is. Right, now we're in Castle Eggman. We will trigger the Get All Emeralds thing. It doesn't look like Sonic New has a super form, because usually that would be grayed out if he did. But someone did bring up in the last stream that sometimes for certain characters, even if they have a super form, that's still grayed out for one reason or another. So we'll trigger it, we'll see what happens. I'm not holding out much hope. We'll take these because we can of course just spring and wall climb back up to the actually enjoyable route to the level. Oh no, I was about to say, got stuck behind the egg pawn. And then I was like, of course the Lancerbot's going to get me from behind. I'm currently reading the Witcher book series at the moment. I've made my way through most of them. I'm on the last book of the series at the moment. The Lady of the Lake, or Lady in the Lake, Lady of the Lake, something like that. And the book series gets kind of crazy by the end of it. Like, it starts off pretty normal, grimdark. Well, not particularly grimdark to be honest, but normal fantasy. Maybe a slightly edgier version of your usual fairy tale stuff. But we get to the end of it, and now you've got the main character, Ciri, is teleporting between different dimensions and stuff, and magic is all out of control and all the rest of that. But the point I'm making, the reason I bring it up, is because the first thing she does in the final book is teleport to the Arthurian world. So, and goes and meets one of the Knights of the Round Table. I bring it up while talking about the Lancerbots, but I think it's actually Galahad that she talks to. So I'm just talking about The Witcher, to be honest. Not a thing to complain about, because The Witcher's pretty good book series. It's kind of getting a bit all over the place at the end here, but for the most part, pretty enjoyable. Ooh. That said, the collapsing bridge is catching up with us, so we will dive around and go there. Aaron the Grand is bringing up a master plan to get all of his friends to subscribe to me to get the growth count to grow exponentially. I have to please ask you to refrain from doing that. One, if your friends don't want to subscribe, that's fine, and also, I want as much time as possible to work on this ranking. I'm telling people, they're bringing it up in the Discord server, and they're like, oh, I'll go and make some ult accounts to subscribe, and it's like, please don't. I've got ages left on this ranking. I've got like half of the mods still left to rank. I need to write an introduction. I need to write a conclusion. I need to write the interstitial things that explains why I've put places in certain categories and all the rest of that. I still need to, I need to record footage for everyone, or for all the vast majority of characters. There's a lot to do, and I'm nowhere near done, so please give me as much time as possible to work on it. Ooh, messed up there. But yeah, as much as Sonic does have all of this crazy stuff in his moveset, the fact that I'm not using any of it, obviously because I don't know how to use it, none of it seems to be triggering. That doesn't bode all that well for me. Like, is it a good sign if you're running around with a character and you're not using probably like 50-60% of their movesets, I imagine, is probably we're not using here? Probably not. I'd argue not. I'd argue that, a good moveset should probably be asking you to try and use you know, like at least 70% of the moveset fairly regularly, and not just the same 2 or 3 abilities. Was that Thunder in Castle Eggman 2? Since when? I mean, I don't recognize it as new. I don't think it's particularly exciting. I think it's always been there. Alright, can we leave the level with 189 rings? Probably not. Probably something stupid's going to happen that's going to cause us to lose all of it right at the final moment. Or not. Or not. 195, that's good. $22,500 points, I'll take that. Egg Coliseum, unfortunately, doesn't change all that much, no matter who you're playing with. The only thing that really changes is how bold you can be with hiding and jumping over the spike balls, or whether you need to do it the slow and boring way. That's the only thing that really changes. I can go and announce that the next mod I'm planning to cover for SRB2 is Sonic and the Gunslinger. So that's the next mod I'm covering. Can't remember who it's by. Metal Harbor, I think it is? Whoever it is. Point is, a lot of fun, but it's the first time that I'm really playing SRB2 with the models turned on. And I'm surprised by how good they are. I wasn't holding out a huge amount of hope for the models in the game being particularly great, but no, they're really good looking. Really nice. Really nice looking set of models for a game that already has pretty nice sprite work. I know a lot of them are taken from the Jack Jim's model pack, but I think a fair number of them are vanilla. It looks really good. I know there's a lot of people who prefer playing with models on. I never have. I find that it causes it's too much of a change now. I've grown so used to all of the sprites that that changing it to models throws me off now. So I generally avoid doing it. But seeing as it's automatic, because Gunslinger is a BAT file rather than the usual PK3 or WAD, I figured why not? I'll keep them on. I'll have a look. Really good looking. Avoid the green snapper. Over we go. The problem with SRB2, and I suppose most Sonic games, but SRB2 is the only one I'm familiar enough with to make the complaint. But after a while, you just kind of learn the best routes for every level, and you just end up doing that over and over and over and over again. And it's like, it's interesting once, you know, but it's not fantastic when no matter which character you're playing as, you're doing the same thing. That's why I am enjoying the fact that recently I'm playing more with level packs. I find level packs are just a bit more... I find level packs are better for breaking up the tedium of SRB2. Of like playing SRB2 for a long time. I think probably characters are on the whole generally better, but they come with the problem that you just end up playing every level no matter which character you're playing as in one of maybe 3 or 4 different ways. There's not a huge amount of variety, whereas with a level pack you get that extra variety. So yeah, I am enjoying the fact that I'm getting to play more levels recently rather than playing with characters, because I've generally avoided doing that while working on the ranking, because I don't want to add more to it. It's kind of unfortunate that Arid Canyon, it's a pretty good zone. It's just, it's ruined in both acts by the finale. Well, not ruined, but it loses a lot of its interest on repeat playthroughs because the finale, like on the second act, you got that really long minecart section, which is like, I get it. I've used the minecart before, I know what I'm doing. After the first dozen times you do it. And then there, if you don't have a character who can skip it, you're stuck doing that long and tedious. Well, that's one way to get up here. Not quite the way I meant to, but whatever. But yeah, and then in Act 1 you're stuck doing that long and tedious rope section if you don't have some way to skip it. It's like, it's good level, they're both good levels for like 80% of their runtime. Probably would be up there, but then they just dropped the ball right at the end in both situations. It's strange that Arid Canyon specifically does it, when both stages of Arid Canyon do it. I think we're going to go this way because usually I avoid doing this, but I think it'll work quite well with Sonic New because of how versatile he is. Yep, it's worked out exactly how I had hoped. That's generally a bit of a scary way to get through the level. You tend to launch yourself into the void because of how quickly the last few whirlwinds throw you away, but with the fact that we can kind of corner ourselves there, it works out in our favour. Alright, and now, I could probably do this part with my ISO at this point. I'm not going to try it, but I'm so familiar with it, it's like, okay, I get it. I wish there was a way to more reliably skip it, because it's only if you have very specific characters you can break through that minecart door at the moment that you can really ignore this part. It's like, it's fine, but like, come on, I've done this before now. Which is why I do find it a bit funny when I see some of the people who are like big Sonic's too automated nowadays, and it's like they need a new approach. The boost formula is too automated. Which, you know, fair enough. That's a completely justifiable position, right in many ways. And then they bring up SRB2 as like their counterpoint. This is, you know, this is how Sonic should play instead. A game with far less automation. It's like, dude, have you played half of the game? Like, both acts of Arid Canyon littered with really long, boring, automated sections. You can make an argument that Castle Eggman, a lot of automated sections. It's like, come on. Crazy automated. Just because you do have to try in certain areas doesn't mean that the game's not automated a lot of the time. That's just a problem with Sonic in general, I think. I don't think there's much you can do to completely get rid of the automation from a Sonic game, because that's just such a big part of their identity from the start. You just kind of got to take it as a feature of the franchise, you know. Ooh, that was close. Let's see. Well, this is going pretty well. A lot faster than the usual Fang fight does. Or at least a lot more smoothly than the usual Fang fight does. Usually I get caught out at least once or twice by the pop gun attack. But no, doing pretty well here. And he seems to be stopping earlier than usual. I'm not sure what's up with that. Maybe it's just placebo. Let's see. There it goes. Right, we're nearly at the end of our playthrough with Sonic New. Yeah. Again, not loving him. I definitely remember enjoying recent Tales and latest edition Knuckles more. I just found them to be a bit more interesting. And especially now that I can't seem to trigger half of his moveset, Sonic definitely feels weaker than they do. But an all-rounder, I would say. One of the rare Sonic versions that is not a speedster. Definitely a more of an all-rounder with all of the verticality you get. The ability to attack things, that is not necessarily what I plan to do. The wall cling is pretty inconsistent, but that's like the most universal wall climbing trait you can get in SRB2. I don't think I can name a wall climb that isn't really inconsistent. I do like the recurl feature, or the uncurl or recurl feature. That's always a good thing to have for most characters. Especially when you're dealing with springs. Something that I wish more characters had. I'm not surprised that it's something they added in this. We could probably, if we tried, to take that shortcut along there, but we're not going to bother. We're just going to take this way. I think if we curl this, which we did not properly, we probably could have made it there if we had done that well. My version of the lightning thing from earlier that Crossover brought up was these flowers. I swear that these flowers were added to the game in a fairly recent update, because I swear that I do not recognize them in earlier versions of 2.2. But then I'm looking through the changelogs and there's no mention of flowers in Red Volcano, so again I think I'm just going, I think it's Mandela effect somewhat. Ooh. Not quite, not quite. But it's whatever. I'm not quite sure how the lava works in that room, it's always a bit off, but there we are. The wall jump throws you so far back, it would be good. Yeah, but again, it's really hard to kind of critique how Sonic New plays. Because he's so all over the place that there's not really like an underlying philosophy that you can kind of compare him to. Like when I'm reviewing Mighty, I can look at what Mighty's trying to do, and then I can say whether or not he succeeded. But with Sonic New, there's so much going on that I can't really tell what they were trying to do. So I'm just like, he's a bit complicated, isn't he? So yeah. I mean, I suppose that it's kind of annoying that you get thrown so far back during the wall jump, but at the same time it's like, well, I mean, I guess it's kind of balanced, you know? It's something that the character can't do, and I think that's almost as important a lot of the time as what the character can do, as what they can't. Let's try and take the speeder path. Almost certainly going to end in my death, but I have 9 lives, so it doesn't matter in the end. I just get back up and go the Tails route instead. Springs may be a little bit overpowered. Not sure it was really a necessary part of the moveset. But it's alright, we're here. And we'll just finish this so we won't bother with those rings over there. Embarrassing. I don't know why we're still curled up, but that's what it is. Like, whoa, okay. Not sure why you went that way, Sonic. Scaring me there. It's just a pocket red spring, yeah. I mean, very obviously based on the ability from Smash Bros. But it is a bit of a strange thing to give Sonic in an actual platformer when you're not trying to represent this series as a whole. It becomes a bit more like, well, why is it there? Oh, that was close. Again, I'm not sure how the acceleration thing works, because according to their download page, it's supposed to increase your acceleration and not really your top speed. Or increase your acceleration to let your top speed get higher, but it doesn't feel like my top speed's increasing at all. And if I'm already at my top speed when the thing triggers, I'm not accelerating, so it's not like the acceleration's increasing either. It's a strange ability. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go and do the sneaky route for this way. We're going to do it the wrong way round. Like so. Doing that opens the door. You don't actually need to go outside. Don't know whether people are aware of that. I've done it occasionally on these streams with some characters. It's a good way to check how much they can go directly upwards. You know, with a flyer it's pretty boring, but with someone like, you know, for example, Sonic New, who doesn't necessarily have the greatest amount of vertical control, even if he has quite a lot of vertical power, it's a good way to check just how finicky you can get with their vertical abilities. I don't know if a Sonic character should have such strong vertical boost, Aaron the Great says, and yeah, it's definitely a strange thing, especially when it's just part of their moveset, they're not really committing to it. Like Extra Life Classic, I'll give you a little bit of a clue for the ranking. I put them down as a full-on flyer, which means that they have a ton of vertical abilities. They don't really rely on the player having access to, you know, interesting level design and stuff. But that's because that's the entirety of their moveset. The whole thing is built around that. Whereas with this guy, it's like just one part of an already massive moveset. It's like, alright, I guess. You know? It would work if the whole moveset was built around it, but it just isn't. Or it only is in a very flippant way. And like, I suppose you could argue the moveset's kind of built off of it with the whole recurl thing and all the rest of that. Really works with the spring, but that feels kind of incidental more so than planned. Squeeze through there. Oh, it's somewhat scary going through there, but whatever. That final laser grid, it's always a bit off-putting. But I think we're probably going to skip the final two bosses with these guys, just to get through them quicker, because it's like, you've seen them. PH8 Flux, have you tried Pointy Sonic yet? No, I have not. It's definitely one of my big blind spots for SRB2, along with Super Mystic Sonic. But it's the control. Back when I started playing SRB2, it was the custom buttons that put me off, because, you know, as a new player on controller, it's just a bit off-putting to see custom buttons and fire normals and stuff. But now it's just like, I'm not sure what's really there, you know? Like, outside of the sprites, it feels like people have kind of moved on from... Fantastic, didn't mean to do that. From Pointy Sonic and Fluffy Tails. They're kind of old news, if you will. I don't see people mentioning them anymore in the way that they used to. Are you playing with mouse and keyboard? Centipede asks. No, I do not. I play on controller. I've got quite a strange controller setup, admittedly. I know a lot of people, when they see my controller setup, question it. Like, for example, I play with manual, whereas automatic is the recommended controller setup. I map my jump and spin buttons to the triggers instead of the buttons. So I do play on controller, but it is a bit of an unorthodox manner. So if you see me occasionally like bumping into walls and brushing against things, you can blame that on the controller. That's nothing to do with the player. That's all controller mishaps. But it does make playing certain characters quite difficult because they're clearly built for keyboard and mouse, and they don't play all that well on controller. with SRB2's atrocious button mapping. I wouldn't be entirely against SRB2 in a future version just mandating a unified control scheme and then just asking the mod developers to work around it, you know? Like saying that these buttons are the custom buttons. They're always going to be the custom buttons. Figure it out if you want to go and put stuff on them. But yeah, I do play on controller. It's mostly experience. Again, I've been playing SRB2 for years at this point. So, okay, yeah, you definitely can go on the walls, on the ceilings. But yeah, just over time, you kind of get used to it. Did they release the Knuckles or Crispy characters, or was it a scrapped idea? I've never seen it, so I think they probably did scrap it. Oh, you bastard. You cow. Always kind of annoying going into JackalMan because you can never trust what he's going to do. And then sometimes he just spends an age walking over to the acid and it's like, just get on with it, you know? You're just wasting everyone's time here. Oh, that was a mistake. Don't do that. You really don't want to get over the walls in this boss fight with the missiles flying around. It's very risky getting over the arena walls. Same acid stream? Yes. I think realistically this is going to be 3 rounds if we mess up. He hasn't really used any of his phase 2 abilities though, so it is what it is. Yeah, so Sonic New, not the biggest fan. Definitely not my favourite Sonic variant. Not sure if it's even my favourite version of Sonic that's explicitly supposed to be an overhaul of the vanilla version, not a Sonic from a different game. But, you know, they're part of a trio. Let's see whether maybe recent Tales is a little bit better. If you hear the banging and crashing, that's me taking off my shoes. Letting the dogs out. Ah. Look at that, we got all 7 Chaos Emeralds through completely legitimate means. Right, there's that. Let's pull up. Will be a bit more interesting with recent Tales because we don't really. Let's actually see what they wrote for this. Sonic book. Okay, yeah, no, that's crap. Yeah, let's try Tales, and we're going on a no save file because I want to see. I want to try them out in some custom levels as well. So yeah, recent Tales is very luckily very much based on their verticality and flight and all the rest of that, and I'm slightly overhauling it to be a bit more. They argue intuitive. Say what you will. But they argue intuitive. So it's a slightly different style of jump. Oh, sorry, slightly different version of fly, where instead of spamming jump like you would with most characters, you instead hold it down. There's also that, as you can see, where it speeds up your flight but reduces the amount of time you get of it total. Unfortunately, you can't then fly after it, which does somewhat limit its utility. Yeah, you can't mix the two of them together, which is a bit odd. Oh yeah, and if you drop to the ground while flying, you go straight into this spin instead of just standing still. Oh. Tired already. Ooh, close. Nice try. Get out of here. I'm not sure whether they're using the old sprites or not. Generally, I struggle a bit. At this point, I'm not particularly familiar with the old sprites anymore. I don't see them very much, but I'm not sure whether these are the old or the new ones for the vanilla cast. Yeah, okay, I'm not really sure what the idea is with this ability. Okay, you can. You can fly, you just have to keep holding spin while you do so. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. I get what it's doing now, I get it. I'm smart. It would be good if there was some sort of quick cancel to the fly though. That feels like if you want to make stronger versions of the vanilla cast, that'd be a good choice to make. Like an instant cancel for Tails' flight. If you're just trying to make stronger versions of the vanilla cast, that's an easy choice, because you do waste a lot of time with Tails just sitting there waiting for him to stop flying when you go on to the place you want to get to. Down we go. Ta-da. Right, don't think there's any way for him to get through those, so up we go. Go the same route as usual. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. If you're going sufficiently fast enough and then run off a ledge, you start flying, sort of. You kind of just continue at the current Z level, your current height. And I think you can then go up by holding jump. But clearly I'm not going fast enough off any ledges. Oh. We'll go this way. Ooh. Really got me. There you go. That's what you do. It's kind of like a Looney Tunes kind of style. Ignore gravity until you press jump. To be fair, a fair number of mods do that. I've seen quite a few mods do something like it. Usually based on coyote time of some kind. Right, up we go. Here we are. And onwards and upwards. Egg Slimer, go through that pretty quick. In a sec. Yeah, he doesn't have a super form either. Right, in that case we'll do Deep Sea. We'll do Red Volcano and then we'll try some custom levels. Not sure what happened there. Did I accidentally trigger something? Or is this an inherent part of Freeze and Tails thing where he like bounces away but hits the ground before taking damage? Yeah, we'll try Deep Sea to see how he works in water. We'll do Red Volcano because that's always fun. And then we'll probably move on to newer things. Onto the custom levels. Just to have a bit of variety. I'm not sure why every character in this mod pack has the whole running on the ceiling thing. It barely makes sense for Knuckles with how they went about it. It doesn't make any sense for the rest of the cast. Looks like you also lift quicker when swimming. You get more lift than you usually do. Fantastic. There we go. Easy. Let's see whether that's a one-time thing, but whether he really does have better... Yeah, definitely better lift when swimming. And then you can also maintain your lift for quite a while. Oh, you... Oh, something bad's about to happen. Or not. Things actually worked out pretty well. It is kind of funny to watch, even if again it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, there you go. That was what I saw earlier. Definitely phantom item boxes. Not sure what's causing that. I haven't seen that before. Don't know what's special about Team New to cause them. But at least I'm now not going crazy now. Okay, so the difference is, if you're just going normal speed, then you simply stay at the same Z level while running off a ledge. If you're going particularly quick, you start rising somewhat slowly. So that's the difference depending on your speed. We drop down because it's always easier to use those springs than it is to climb the tempo, no matter who you're picking. Now we'll deal with the sea egg. Red Volcano. Custom levels, or secret levels I should say. Come on. Ooh, okay. Whoa, okay. I miscounted how many lives he had. Right. What's my level select? Oh, because I'm on no save. Duh. I forgot how the game worked. Sorry. Right. Level select. Red volcano through that. That's what I meant to do. I get the feeling that this is the sort of level where we're not going to end up needing to play half of it. Because we'll just run off ledges and just keep going. It is a bit of an interesting paradigm, if nothing else. Like, it's a gameplay style you really don't see very often with any character. So as much as it is appropriate for Tails, it's exciting to see. There we are. Okay, we'll try the alternate method. Tails at the least. Don't know why they decided to give him that damage type. It was annoying in Frontiers, it's very annoying here. I don't know why only recent Tails seems to have it. It's a bit bizarre. Ooh, ooh, there we are. Oh, we were nearly there. But these things happen. There we are. And now we'll see how he plays in Aerial Garden. Haunted Heights and then Aerial Garden. We'll do Haunted Heights and then Aerial Garden. Because there's a fair amount of verticality to Haunted Heights. Or with the whole thing taking place over a bunch of different platforms effectively, rather than a single cohesive block. I suppose any character who's able to grip onto the ceiling and stay there is at home in this level. While with all of the bats running around. Oh, why did you do that, Tail? Why did you do any of that? Oh, I forget that this is an area where you're not gonna die if you fall off. Very lucky. Because I keep getting stuck on the damn pillar. There we go. Oh, hell. I'm never escaping this bit. I'm just gonna have to keep seeing it. Ooh, that's close. Go the long way around to avoid all of that. Okay, we don't quite have the speed, the height required to get up there. Gotta go, says Flux. I'll be there for the next stream. Yeah, good to see you. The next stream will be a fair while. I'm probably not going to be free to do one next week. It'll probably be the week after before we see any more streams, but see you there. Oh, you... I especially hate it when you get damaged and knocked into gunk with that damage type, because you just sit there waiting for the game to finally let you move again. It's like, okay, I get it. Just let me leave. I also remember that entire area being longer than it is, to be honest. Ooh, no, no. Tragedy. We'll be a little less ambitious this time. The emblem. Shame the JackalMan didn't even have the decency to knock us over the signpost, just in front of it. How rude of it. But yeah, Aerial Garden. Certainly somewhere that Tails is at home, and even if this isn't technically the usual Tails, still very clearly in their element. I'm still not entirely sure what the strategy is if you're not playing as Tails, because I don't play on this stage particularly often, and very rarely as someone other than a flyer. It's just like, I think I know what it intends you to do, but it's such a flimsy route that it doesn't feel entirely intentional. We go left as always. This is my default direction, to be honest. Drop down here, through here, and then I think this is the crossroads. Yeah, crossroads with the apocalypse sealed. Again, we go left, because that's just my default direction. If in doubt, always go left. There's a whole thing in the story of the Minotaur. Oh, okay. I was about to say that was... If that killed me, that'd be something. That'd be annoying. But there's a whole thing in the story of the Minotaur and the Labyrinth, where you... Apparently the strategy is to always go left, apparently. Again, I haven't actually read that myth outside of Percy Jackson anthology, so I'm not entirely sure how true that is. But apparently, if you're ever stuck in a maze, you just need to go left over and over and over again. Don't try that with any real mazes. Probably not going to work out well. Yeah, probably not going to work out well, and I don't want to be blamed for it. I believe that Aerial Gardens is the largest stage in vanilla SRB2. And I can believe it, like, if you consider how many alternate paths and stuff the level has, it's not unbelievable to imagine that it's the largest stage in the game. Even if, to be honest, you don't have to interact with half of it. This section's always a bit unnerving, especially because I still haven't downloaded that jump latency mod. You can find it very easy to slip off the edge of one of the conveyor belts and then boom, you're done, because the death plane is very, very, very close to them. You have no distance to fall at all. It feels a bit strange. Even if I suppose it is much of a muchness what happens when you die if you fall off a platform over a bottomless pit. And we're definitely not doing Azure Temple. So, what else have we got? We'll try Frozen Hillside. Why not? Could really do with a drink, but my apartment building's currently cleaning out its water tank, so I can't actually pour myself a drink at the moment, because it's currently the tank that you need to drink that you would be drinking from is currently filled with cleaning detergent and stuff. So not a good idea to try drinking from it. I had a bunch of emails and stuff that's saying don't drink, do not run your taps between these times, you're going to regret it. So I could really do with the drink to parch my throat, but I just can't. Ugh. Right, we'll do Forest Fortress as well, and then we'll move on to latest edition Knuckles and do the campaign with them. Doing the campaign 3 times in a row with no downtime between them, it's like, okay, I get it. I've seen this before now. Oh. Well, that's one way to get the height, I guess. Not necessarily the way I was intending to, but it works. Right. There we are. I think we probably have enough stamina, yeah, just to fly right to the end. It's a bit close, but easy enough. Ta-da. With that, we move on to our final character. Knuckles. Knuckles, but he can dig, which from what I can gather is pretty accurate. Apparently he's the character with the least changes compared to everyone else. The main thing is he can crouch, and that changes a couple of your abilities. Like for example, you've got that big jump now. You have a punch if you're moving forward. It's that rock as you saw earlier if you're not. There's some sort of energy gathering mechanic. Let's see, give me a moment. You have an energy gathering mechanic, I think if you hold L2. Maybe not. It does feel like a lot of the abilities I'm seeing on their download page have just been removed. like from all of the characters, so maybe I'm not looking at their changelogs enough. But yes, he also has, for some reason, of all characters, Knuckles is the one with tricks. Not sure why, but it, once again, good for extra verticality. Yes, and then the Krauts' main purpose is because now you can get into hard to reach areas. There we go. Ooh, that was close, but it worked out to our favour. Definitely think those are the old sprites. Oh, that was stupid of me. There were definitely ways to have worked that one, but didn't take advantage of them. The punch would be a good idea for Knuckles if it wasn't for the fact that it cuts your momentum after you use it, which is a bit unnecessary. Oh yeah, and then of course Knuckles is the guy who is supposed to be able to do the whole ceiling walking thing. He's the only one to actually mention it in his Shane's notes. No doubt, because he's got the best version of it. I wonder whether it's something to do with faulty code or whatever that it lets the other characters run on ceilings. Go the Knuckles route. Skip straight over here. And I glided when I didn't need to, so I'm now stuck. A bit annoying, but it's fine. We'll continue as we were regardless. Ta-da. Oh yeah, he has no I don't know what I was trying to do there. Also, the more I play it, I'm not quite sure what the idea of that route is, because you can just do that. You don't need to worry about the whole turret laser thing anyway. You can just ignore it completely. I mean, in general, the Knuckles route doesn't make all that much sense because it's massively slower than just going any other route, but whatever. It's something unique. I think you can definitely make a decent argument that there aren't enough Knuckles routes in the game. think that's definitely a fair complaint to have. There aren't enough character-specific routes in the game. Right, onwards we go. Up and over. Oh yeah, here we are. I'll go show you something unique to Knuckles. Mentioned the whole dig mechanic. That is because you should be able to... Yes. In situations like that, you can just dig from the other side of the floor and appear on the other side. I get the feeling it's probably a fairly niche ability, but it's interesting. Actually, there is one place I want to check it, and I'm too impatient to wait. So I'm going to go all the way to Act 2 now. There is something... The only place I think could constitute a really big skip for that ability is in this level. So there's probably a few locked doors throughout the game that you can use to get around, but the big one that I can think of that I think is realistically going to work isn't here. Aaron the Grand says, why hello. Hello there, Aaron Grand. Let's see, I mean this... It's maybe a bit big, but that's another part of the level down there. So if we... that's unfortunate. It looks like we can't skip through it. Maybe it's too thick. The terminology used in the... on the download page to explain it is that it's an FOF, not a floor thing. So I'm not sure whether it's maybe something to do with this. Maybe it's too thick. Maybe it is a very specific kind of floor situation. So this is actually different to that beyond just being thinner. But who knows? Right. Let's do Art Canyon. Art Canyon and Red Volcano. And then I think I'll have gone everything we need for Team New, to be honest. They're not hugely complicated set of characters. I know what they tried to do. I think they do it pretty messily. I'm not sure they're the most successful at their plan. But I understand what they're trying to do. Regardless. Easy mode. Didn't even need to try. Arid Canyon, very easily skipped over. Not enough tricks there, yeah. SRB2, very easy to pull off a lot of tricks. I don't think there's any sort of timer between them, like you get in a lot of Sonic games. There's another Knuckles route, we'll try this one. So you can just spam them as quickly as you can get your movement keys to the other side of their jump. Let's see if there's anything this way. Yeah, I don't think so. I think this side to the level is pretty much empty. I think it's all on the other side. We actually find stuff. But I never knew about this little platform that I saw up here somewhere. There we are. We never knew about this apocalypse shield. Alright, we'll just see where we land here. Oh, typical. Alright, we'll go this way. This is the better Knuckles path in my opinion anyway. The slightly more interesting one than the one we tried right at the start of the level. Damn it. Tried this path. Never taken this path. Yeah, I'm on a bizarre one to be honest. I think I'm going between a ton of different characters' paths here. More so than any specifically intended ones. It always spooks me somewhat when your camera starts, or your character starts running away from your camera, because it's like, I just know something's going to come hitting me when I can't even see. Squeeze in there. I'm not sure if there's actually a benefit to doing more tricks than you need, but it certainly is fun, if nothing else. Right, let's wrap this up. It's nearly over. So tedious. So ridiculously tedious. Let's say, what happens if we just punch him? His hitboxes are a bit all over the place, but if we just use the punch ability, what does he do? I don't think it's quite as broken as the Air Coliseum if you start sequence breaking. So I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy, but... Oh, just a bit too late. Oh, the thing, I think we just about skirted his head there with that last punch. Yeah, bullied the guy, but it's what he deserves. He deserves nothing better. I saw some people showing their like headcanons for all of the characters' ages and stuff. And they were like, oh yeah, Fang, I think he's like 16. It's like, Fang's not 16. Get real. He's some like loser 35-year-old guy minimum. He's a loser. That's what Fang is. There's no way he's a teenager like the rest of the cast. It was Infinite especially. There was like no way people genuinely believe Infinite's 16, like the same age as the rest of the Sonic hero cast. Like no way do people genuinely believe that Infinite was born around the same time as Knuckles. Like that guy's a fully fledged adult. Whatever life he had before joining Eggman. He was having to pay taxes and all the rest of that and figure out his employee salary for his mercenary company. There's no way that's a 16-year-old. I mean, ridiculous it is to complain about all of that when we're talking Sonic characters when Amy's aged between 8 and 12 in Sonic Adventure and yet she's got an apartment and is having to buy groceries. So it's not really... doesn't really hold up to scrutiny any of the characters' ages or indeed complaining about them, but even so, it's like, nah, I'm not falling for the propaganda that Fang's like 16, 17. No way. Like Vector 20, yeah. I can see Vector being 20, kind of at a push, but I can see Vector being 20, but Fang being 16, 17. No chance. Bean, maybe. I can see Bean being fairly young. But Fang, no chance. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just about got it. From his actions, I'd say near 30. Is that for Fang or Infinite? Whatever case, whichever one you're talking about, yeah, I'd agree. I'd say Infinite probably in his 20s. Don't know where in the 20s, maybe mid-20s. And then, yeah, Fang maybe early, mid-30s, I'd say. Maybe mid-30s, maybe a bit too old, but yeah, I'd say like early 30s. Fang. Oh, my neck. Right, well, we've already seen a little bit of Egg Rock. Let's just go the other way. We'll do Egg Rock Act 1. Yeah, we'll do Egg Rock. We'll just go the opposite way on each stage. Or the unexplored path, I should say. Rosie has joined. Hello there, Rosie. How are you? Sink right to the... Oh, tricks. I was about to say, it doesn't matter, does it? We've got Knuckles, we can just glide to the end even if we mess up. Fortunately, I don't think our gliding's useful in the majority of the stage. It's a bit of a problem. Oof. The wiki says the modern Knuckles is 16 years old. Yeah, like I can see Knuckles being 16. If we're accepting that Sonic's 15, I can see Knuckles being 16 easily. But like Fang and like the characters were full on jobs and mercenary listings and all the rest of that's like no. No, I can't see that. I can't accept in my head that I could look at Fang and hear a 16-year-old coming out of that face, you know? Like, it's not even just about the character and what they can do, because obviously it's a cartoon world, cartoon logic, they can do whatever they want. It's just like, the fact that I can't look at Fang and imagine a 16-year-old voice coming out of it. Or indeed infinite, like 16-year-old voice. No chance. Oh, messed that up. This area is nowhere near dense enough for spikes, to be honest. You get stuck and then you're just stuck there. Oh, that was close. Kill you while we wait for the trolley. Amy is 12 and Sado is over 50. I think that's fine. I know a lot of people have been bringing up that Sado is only like biologically, or is only chronologically over 50, and then biologically he's Sonic's age, and it's like, I don't know, man. I don't feel that, you know. I feel Sado is older than Sonic, even ignoring the chronological point that he was basically stuck in a coma, more or less. Even beyond that, I can't look at Sado and think, yeah, he's Sonic's age. I feel he's quite a bit older, mentally speaking. I mean, biologically speaking, he's way younger than Sonic. And chronologically, obviously, way older. But yeah, Amy and Charmy, I think, are the... Yeah, obviously it's a bit strange going from the classic era to the modern era, because character ages are nowhere near, not even close to consistent changes between them. Ah, damn it. So like, Sonic is apparently older in the modern universe compared to his classic form, although now people are arguing it's actually just an art style change. I don't really agree with that, but point remains, he's supposed to be older, more mature, whatever term you want to use for it, whether or not it's literally he's older or whether he's just a more mature stories and stuff in the modern age. And yet he's technically a year younger than classic Sonic, because there's a bunch of old biographies from back then where they said he was 16 and not 15. So if anything, he's actually gotten younger in the time between looking like he does in the classic form and what he looks like in his modern form. Amy aged 4 years. Charmy degraded, got younger by 10 years. He's a full decade younger in his modern form than he is in his classic form. I think Vector was 18 in Chaotix. I think they all have ages in that, and I think they're all a bit all over the place. But I think Vector and SBO also had their ages changed as part of that. I mean, Cream's what, 6? I mean, that hasn't changed, but I'm just trying to remember what all of their ages are now. Yeah. Blaze is 14. I think Silver's 15 as well. I think the main main trio of Hedgehogs are technically identical in terms of like heights and weights and ages. They're all meter tall, all 15, and all 45 kilograms. They all had like heights and weights at one point, and I think they were all identical. So, you know, your choice whether or not you believe that. I don't with Sado. I guess one thing, Sado being the same age as Sonic, but another thing entirely for him to be the same age as Silver. Like, come on. Get real. Yeah, Vector the Crocodile's 20 years old, which really begs the question of how he's planning to get with Vanilla, who's old enough to have a 6-year-old child. But maybe he's just chasing, who knows. I wouldn't blame him. Ooh, bit hasty there. Looking at it now, the majority of Sonic characters are 16 or younger. Yeah, you gotta remember that it's all kinda gotta be graded compared to Sonic, who is at this point very consistently 15. Although they have technically removed all of the characters' ages now. Like characters, from what I can gather, they no longer have canon ages. But it's obviously, still, I think at this point it's now just vaguely, this one's a teenager, this one's a child, more so than this one's, this one's 15, this one's 14, I think it's now, these ones are teenagers, these ones are children, these ones are young adults, more so than that. I think that's what they're mainly using nowadays. But it's always funny when they have the whole, these characters are these ages, but also here's a storyline where they are explicitly going significant spans of time forward in the timeline, and yet they're still the same age. Like, at some point between Adventure and Generations, there's a birthday, because he's a year older in Generations, and yeah, he's still 15. Oh, please land on me. There you go. So that's something. There's at least 6 months in Forces that are used up in that game, and I don't think the entirety of the rest of the Sonic timeline fits in 6 months, so that also doesn't really track. So yeah, the timeline's a bit of a mess with the Sonic thing. I don't bother thinking about it, to be honest. Like, there's more interesting games to think about timelines and backstories and lores and stuff with. It's just a bit boring with Sonic, because it's all ultimately pretty meaningless. Oh. Pardon me. Like, it's one thing to think about theories and stuff, Control and Alan Wake and stuff, because they've realistically got a chance to be answered in the next Control or Alan Wake game, but there's no point thinking about that with Sonic, because they're not going to be answered in the next Sonic game. Any questions or lore queries you might think. So at this point, I like Sonic less as a universe and less as a character, or more just a general concept of Sonic. Like a specific kind of fan work, a specific kind of gameplay. That's what I like Sonic more so than the actual storyline at this point, because, like, what's the point of worrying about it with Sonic of all games? It's like how I don't get people who really get invested in the Mario storyline, because, like, you're never going to see a payoff for a Mario plotline, you know? You're never going to see Mario and Peach get together. You're never going to see Luigi and Daisy get together. You're never going to see Mario or Bowser take, like, a final win. It's just going to be the same thing in every game, just with a different face on it and a different name for the fields and stuff you're running through. It's like, I don't bother worrying about it with these sort of mascot platformers, you know. There's no point worrying about them. About their lore. That's why I also don't mind the fact that the Sonic movies change things around. Because, like, obviously they would. Oh, that was stupid. Okay, Meadow Sonic does not stop him. That was lucky of us. Okay, I don't think we have quite big enough of a jump to get out of the way just by jumping directly over him. There we are. Let's see. Right, he's still got all the emeralds because we didn't bother collecting them. Because, you know, what's the point? He doesn't have a super form. Yeah, no super form. Which character of the Sonic series do you think is the best design? I mean, personal favourites is just the Sonic, it's just the robots. All of the robots. Something about a Sonic robot really hits, you know. But whether they're actually the best character design, I'm not so. Will you stop it? Stop firing the missiles and just walk into the acid, please. Yeah, but yeah, whether the Sonic robots actually have the best character designs, you know, like silhouettes and color theory and all the rest of it, I'm not sure. And symbolism in them. I just think they're cool. I mean, I think Blaze's design's pretty cool if you look into the posts and stuff describing how they're like an exact inversion of Sonic. It's interesting. It's an interesting design theory class. But the one thing that I don't love about a lot of Sonic character designs is they're just... Well, you're very aggressive today. Is that they don't take enough from the target species. Like, if you remove the most obvious sign that every character is a hedgehog, a bat, whatever, like if you removed Bruce's bat wings, is it that much of a surprise that there were a lot of confusion when she came out that people were calling her a cat, Bruce the cat? Because, like, if you take off the wings, if you're seeing a piece of art that doesn't have her wings in it, it's like, that's a cat. And if you... It's just the fact that too many characters are just Sonic with a different colour and slightly different ears, you know? Maybe Sonic with whiskers or Sonic with different hairstyle. And I think that's not great. They should put a bit more thought into designing some of the characters to take a bit more from their species. Like in terms of how their face is structured and teeth and all the rest of it. Like, not huge amounts, like, don't get freaky with it, but just like in the last stream I was talking about how I liked how Whirl as a ram had a slightly longer face than Dirk, who's a husky, or Vessler, who's a bee. So I like that. But yeah. I like Sado, but only when he's really going for the original 2D art look. Like, not necessarily proportions-wise, although I do prefer that slightly lankier look for Sonic. But in terms of the darker colour scheme, so the slightly richer black, the slightly richer orange and reds, I think his current design and his current model washes that all out a bit, and I think it somewhat ruins the effect of Sado as a character. I think he works only when he's got really rich and saturated colours. But anyway, that's all of Team New. Not the best set of characters out there, in all honesty. Like, Sonic New's just too much going on there. Recent tales. And I get the feeling that a lot of the stuff might have been toned down because I just could not do some of the things that the download page was mentioning. I'll have to check the update logs to see whether they mention removing abilities, because definitely some of that stuff wasn't working. So it's just a case of figuring out whether that's a case of, you know, they actually removed it, or whether it's just a case of the mod doesn't support it. Be interesting to see. But with that, we're gonna call it there for SRB2 today. And we're going to try a little bit of Blender, the 3D modeling software Blender, and see how that goes. So, you know, if you were just sticking around for the SRB2, that'll be it for today's stream. But if you want to go into Blender and look at some character modeling, we'll see how that goes. Right, give me a moment to get on there. Launch Blender and then put on the window capture. I really need to get something behind the video, so that when I do something like this and cut it off, just so you can see so there's actually something behind it, is not just a black box. But anyway, Blender 3D modeling software. I've been practicing with this in recent times. I say recent, it's been like a year now. I haven't gone as good as I want to get. And I think a great way to improve at something quickly is to put yourself down for social mockery if you don't get good at it. So that's why I've decided we're going to start streaming, or I'm going to start including some Blender stuff in my streams, because if I don't do well at it, then that's mock-worthy, you know? So it should be capturing yeah, that's good. It means I can go and get the step-by-step. Oh, great, what? Oh, okay. We might be cutting it there. Maybe not. Depends if I can find the file I needed. Yeah, you can see the Blender thing. I've got a Word document. I set up a Word document. So, there it is. Don't know why I wasn't recognizing it. So that I don't need to put on a video in the background. I can just be using this. Right, there. That's what I wanted to do. And that, yeah, okay, that's good. I can still see the chat. But I have a little step-by-step tutorial I've made so that I can just look at a Word document rather than having to watch the video while I'm modeling, watching a tutorial. So in today's stream, we're going to make... So the step-by-step tutorial I'm following is by 2AM, who is a... kind of bases it off of the Gacha games like Genshin Impact, like, you know, Honkai Star Rail, all of those kind of Hoyoverse games. So kind of anime. Not necessarily the style I'm going for, but it's good for like learning topology and all the rest of that, and good edge flows and all the rest of that, because, you know, being that they're having to be on mobile and being on computers and PCs and consoles and everything else, they've got to be well optimized. So it's a good learning resource. The problem is that they're somewhat stereotypical. They're pretty basic. But for this tutorial, I tried it once with a different character. Let me see if I can get it up. I'll see if I can get up my old failed test. Let's see. Eggman. There it is. Don't save quite yet. This is what I did following that tutorial. You'll notice that it looks pretty awful, and that is because while I was following the tutorial, I was going off and doing something quite different with it. So, because that's the sort of thing people want to make with their gacha game characters and taking from that inspiration, the tutorials on how to make a rather curvy woman, we'll say. And I decided there's a whole thing about how you shouldn't just follow a tutorial directly, because you're not going to learn much doing that way. Just like, oh, I'll do Eggman. He's kind of the exact opposite of a curvy woman. Problem is that you can't go too far from a tutorial when you're learning from it for the first time, because else you get really bizarre looking, horrible Play-Doh things like this. I'm not even sure what's going on with the hands. Like, Sage Smooth, and somehow they've ended up like this. I made a curvy man, yeah, but not necessarily a good looking curvy man, because if we click on him, topology's all over the place, because I just ended up having to resort to smoothing everything out and relaxing, and that just causes your topology to get really messed up. Like, look at his shoulder. Look at that. What's going on there? You know? So it was a bit of a nightmare. We're not going to stray too far from the whole curvy woman thing, seeing as that is indeed what the tutorial is based on. Because again, otherwise we might end up with another monstrosity like that. So I have decided that on this first set of streams, because we're not going to get through the whole thing on a single sitting, we're going to go with Tyrus Flare from Golden Axe. So I'm going to go get up some... We're going to go and get up a sprite list of Tyrus Flare. Or maybe I can find some decent art of her. So that's the female barbarian warrior from Golden Axe, if you're unaware. We'll see if I can find a good picture of her. So I can just actually stick it in the blender space so you can actually see it. Otherwise I'm just going to be looking at my resources on a second monitor and you're not actually going to be seeing it. Let me see if I can find something. That'll do. Just for now. Just so you actually have something on screen other than a picture. Right, other than just that. If I just get Tyrus Flare. Shift A, image. We'll do that so you can make sure we've seen it from the front. And it's background because reference is all over the place. But we'll get background pictures. Tyrus Flare. There it is. That's the person we're going to be trying to model over the next few episodes. So the barbarian lady from Golden Axe. Because that is indeed, as the tutorial explains, how to build a rather curvy woman. So it's better than like trying to do the Axe Battler or the Centurion or someone like that. It's just a pretty simple thing to kind of take from, you know. Let's see if there's a picture that's a bit more front-facing. Nope, definitely not that. I'm not sure what I can stick down a YouTube stream. Like a decent-looking one. I might have to go and rely on the good old Spriters resource. Love the Spriters resource. My favourite thing out there. Let's just get a sprite sheet out, because that kind of, by necessity, has all of the different angles and stuff, so you can kind of use that somewhat as a model sheet. If we get that up, and then really blow it up on Blender. You can't see the my file editor, which is a good thing, probably. But yeah, there you go. That's what the sprites we're going to be we're going to be looking at. That's all the images, hopefully, that we'll need. We'll see how it goes. So, you know, you got all of the jumping and stuff. Fortunately, you can't do nearest neighbor pixel scaling on Blender, so it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a bit blurry, but it should work just for the sake of a basic reference, because it's not the most unusual body shape out there. But anyway, that was all a very long monologue to get around the fact that we need to actually start building this. So, what? Oh yeah. I'm having to try and do this while also not looking at my keyboard. So, if nothing else, even if I don't really learn how to model out of the social pressure, or at least learn how to touch type. But which part of the body do we start modeling? Well, the tutorial that I'm following, the 2 AM one, is that we start with the pelvis, and we start making the legs, and we make the torso, and we build out of there, and then we model the feet, which we're not going to bother with this model, because you can see that she's wearing shoes, but we would model the feet, the hands, and the head separately, and effectively attach them to our pelvis, legs, arms, torso, on their own, once they're all modeled correctly. But today we're just going to work on the body, and then, if we have time, also the hands. So, the first thing we do, I've got a step-by-step instruction thing that you can't see, but I've got it on my second monitor right by my chat. But the first thing we do is we add a cube. We already see it. Next thing we need to do is we need to stretch it out a little bit. So the way we do that, for those who want to try and learn from this, you would use S, and then you press X, which locks your scaling to a single dimension. And I find a 2.5 scale, if you can just about see the tiny little number right at the top, right around there when we're pressing it, I find that's a good look at it. Oh, actually, I can just click it here. I don't know whether... Yes, that drop-down thing just about appears on the stream. I've had to trim the thing down to try and avoid showing any like file names or whatever. So sorry if some things get cropped out. Because they're background images, they disappear when we move the camera, which is actually what we want. We don't want them to be visible from every direction. But once we stretch it, we can click on it. I've got an add-on, which is called Auto Mirror, which means that I just press this button. And if we go into edit mode, which is by pressing tab, and if you know anything about 3D modeling and stuff, you know that it's all about moving vertices and edges and all the rest of that. Maybe I need to make it a bit bolder for streams, but hopefully you can see that. You can see that we're like selecting things here. You can see the little orange dots. Selecting things there, and we can edit them, rest of that. But mirroring just means that everything we do on this side will be identically copied on this side. So we're not having to worry about like scaling and all the rest of that. It's a much simpler way of modeling. But once that's there, now we've got our thing, it's mirrored and all the rest of that. Next thing we need to do is we need to do loop cuts, which adds extra vertices and edges to a face. Like so, we do one there, we do one there, and then we do two here. You can see they go all around the body, and that's why we want good topology, which is a term for this, because it means that we can add things like that very easily. It's very good, it's very important for making sure that you can get all of the detail you need, so that if you decide to make it a higher poly model, you can just add extra topology where you need it, and you're not having to like add in the vertices individually. It's a massive nightmare if you get your topology wrong, so you need to make sure it's good from the start. Once we have that, we need, if it all seems a bit arbitrary what I'm doing, I'm just copying what the tutorial does. I'll probably stick a link into the description once I'm done streaming. I realize I probably should do that, but it's all just to make things... Oh, okay, I accidentally selected the entire edge loop there, but we delete these because there's no point having a hip that is not like filled in. That's just extra data that is not good for modeling. It's not good for running the animation. Once we've done that, we can select by pressing 2. We go into edge select mode rather than vertices select. We can select both of these. We then press S for scale, Y to make sure it's on the Y axis, which is that green axis you can see. And then we push them in a little bit to kind of curve them out. And then we use G, which moves things. It's not M, that's for merging things. I assume it's probably for grab or something like that. And X to lock it onto the X axis, the red one. And we push them in a little bit, like so. Hopefully you can see how this is starting very, very early, but it's very, very slowly starting to look a bit more like a body rather than just a block. We're starting to make it into something different. So we now grab this. This center edge, is that the back? Yes, that's the back. It can get a bit confusing if you're starting to just move things around. We once again press G to grab things. We press Y, and we're just going to push it in very slightly. And that's good for when we get to the fun things like modeling the butt. Once that's moved in a little bit, so we now have an actual difference between the front and back. I'm just going to stick statistics on so you can see that. And I'm also going to put on cavity because that should make it a bit easier for the viewer, because I understand, you know, when you think about bit rates and stuff, I'm not sure how much detail you can actually see here. But stick on cavity just so it's maybe a little bit easier to see. But once you've got that, you can see that we've now differentiated the front and back. We can then go back into edit mode. We want to grab the vertice by here. Let's go on to X-ray mode so we can make sure things are doing right. And we want to move it back on the edges on. We want to move it back by about 1/3. So we can press G twice, which means that we're no longer moving it freely. It's stuck on the edge. It can't move up or down. And we can move it back about there. And then we once again press Control R. Do that. We're going to select it. Do it. And we're just going to push it in a little bit more that way. Just to make sure things are consistent on both sides of the body. There we are. Like so. Is that look up for it? What? Oh, right. I've moved things around slightly in my steps, but we would move that down if we're following the tutorial exactly, but we're going to give it a moment because I find it's easier once we start cutting some things to do it then. Right, once we've got that, we need to we'll turn off X-ray mode so that it's solid again. It looks solid. We're going to grab this edge. No, we're on face select mode. We're going to grab that. We are going to press V, I think it's V, to split the edge, like so. So it's now 2 edges instead of just 1. It's all mathematical. We press X to kind of drag it out a little bit. We go back into vertices select mode and we pull this one out again, slightly more, to make something of a triangle shape. Is that a little too far? Oh well, we'll work on it later. Obviously, the whole point of this is that you can move all of this around whenever you need to. We'll then move this way slightly. We need to make a triangle effectively, a full triangle. Slightly, not quite equilateral, but close enough. And that's what we need. We then flip on 2 vertices. Where am I on that list? Right. We then need to grab these things. It gets a bit more like free-flowing later on, but at this point in the process, it's quite mechanical. You need to do this and that to make sure you've got the right curves in the right places. But later on, it becomes a bit more. Do as you need. We press F to make a face. We do that twice to fill in the hole we made there. You can see now that there's no hole in that bit anymore. It's been filled in by those triangles, or / squares in this case. We then need to select bottom vertex of triangle and furthest point at the back. Yep. I think it's this side if I'm correct. Yes. Okay. We then grab these 2, F, to join them together. Control R for the loop cut. We do it twice. And then we grab an edge. Either side. Doesn't really matter which side. And like before, F to fill it in. We can then go on to 1. Grab the vertices. And G and X to pull them into the crotch a bit. That'll do, and it's at this point that we want to drag that a bit more, I find is better. So G and Z, which is the Z axis, that's up and down, just to pull it down very slightly, maybe a little bit more. There we are. That's good, I reckon. Circle tool on leg opening. We got one more. I think it's remember correctly, here and here. Then we need to make a face. How many times am I separating that? Cut heads in half, make faces. And, you know, we just grab whichever side. You've seen it. F and F. That fills everything in for a final time. Ooh, it's messed things up a bit. How did that get back there? Ah, well. I definitely messed up somewhere. Give me a sec. Did I split that? Cut edge in half and make faces. Made a mistake somewhere. But where? Did I maybe... Let's make it 3 cuts on that. Maybe that was it. Let's see whether that works a little better. No, still not. Definitely made a mistake somewhere. Give me just one moment. See if I can find out what went wrong. If I just mute the desktop audio a moment so you can't hear the video. Just give me one moment. I'll just see just what went wrong. Because I haven't made that mistake before. Something's happened. Oh, I made a mistake quite a while ago. Let's see how far back the Control Z function goes. You see, I think I split. What I did is I split this triangle the wrong way, actually. The triangle here, I pulled it. I show you. I pulled it from this kind of straight line here. There's an annotate feature, but I don't know how to get rid of it once I annotate. I pulled it from there, and then I pulled it that way, to the right, when in reality I needed to pull it that way, and that maybe might be the mistake. I think that's the mistake we made. So let's see whether we can fix that. Looks like it might be a case of starting again, actually. Easy mistake to make. We'll just begin again. No harm in it. Right. SX 2.5, give or take. Doesn't need to be give or take at all. We can make it exactly 2.5, like so. We then auto mirror it to separate the two sides. We loop cut, like we said, both axes, like so, and like so. Control R twice on this side. It's a good thing we caught it now, because it would have been a nightmare if we had missed it again. I've gone quite quick at this, so I just need to remember myself. We move these in, SY. then no, not SX, GX to round them off, like so. Do it a little bit further. Quite sharp edges, but it is what it is, like so. Vertices, we select these two to make sure it's hollow for when we drag the torso up, because again, we don't need that inside information, we just need the edges around it effect. Oh, I think I must have grabbed a... Yes, I somehow grabbed the vertice from behind as well. Okay, don't do that. Delete those vertices. Delete the center vertice there. And then making sure that we are looking at the back. Yep. Aaron the Grand, if you missed that, we made all of that and then we made a mistake in the direction we needed to cut something, so we've had to start again. But then we just G, Y, push it in slightly. Because again, that's going to be our ass. There's going to be a big, beautiful butt in a moment. So we want that to be nice and round. We go there, Alt Z, so you can see things. GG to slide along. Want it to be about a third of the way back. Control R, making sure that we can actually see the edge rather than the side. There we are. Put that one in. Select it as well. And then we just need to push it back a bit to about... Oh, I really didn't push it that very far this time. But we put it to about there. If we were following the tutorial, we would then drag it down, but we're going to do that later because I find we can make slightly better shapes if we do it later. Now we come back to where I made a mistake last time. In that I split this edge here, and last time I split it once again to the right. This time we're going to split it and go, oh, something's definitely happening. What's going on? Right, I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's not letting me split. It's not letting me split for some reason. Let's see. Okay. I might just have to split them slightly that way. And then just make these the bigger ones manually. That's more the shape we wanted last time. I messed it up, but that's more the shape that's required. So now we select these two. Have I select the right ones? Yep. F, Control R, loop cut it. And then we can fill in the faces like so. There we go. You can see that that looks a lot nicer than last time. Or somewhat nicer than last time. We can then select, once again, it was a bit of a nightmare last time because we messed it up, but we then select these two, Control R twice, like so, and then select Ned's FFF, which fills in what is effectively our crotch. We're then going to drag them in slightly. Well, not slightly, quite a bit. And this is the point where we're going to drag down the crotch to separate it and make it slightly less flat. Like so. Is that a little too subtle? Well, again, we can move things around later, assuming we don't mess it up completely. Right, and now this time, when we select this vertice and this vertice, we press F, we cut it once, we select a side, whichever side, press F, and there we are. It's still a bit skewed, but it's much more recognizably, it's correct. The whole front of the thing's filled in this time. We can clean it up a little bit by selecting it, clicking then on loop tools. Actually, wait, before we do that, we need to go and apply the scale. It's just it's one of those things. Sometimes your tools can get a bit mixed up if you don't just do some treatments. Press. Ooh, okay. Right. Actually, select the thing. All transforms. There we go. That's what we wanted. We have produced our leg opening, like so. We're going to need to clean that up in a moment, but we can now just E to extrude, pull it down, and that's the root of our thigh, effectively. So effectively, what we've done so far, it's a fancy looking shorts. Yeah, this is in effect this part of Tyrus we've made so far. You know, this is where the legs join the body. They're your pelvis, your hips, your whatever you want to call them. But now we've gone that far, we need to do some cleanup on it because it's a bit messy at the moment. I'll press caps lock, not tab. We're going to tab, and we're going to go into a new mode called scoped mode. And this is like a more painterly version. So edit mode is for your very specific, for like scaling, for sticking loop cuts on. But when you want to like start painting the the model, you go into scoped mode, and you have all of these brushes along here, blobs and clays and all the rest of that. You can have some fun with that. But this one, we're going to use the most boring tool out of the lot. We're going to use grab, which is a very basic one. All it does is pull things around. And with it, what we're going to do, I think we're going to up the brush size even more. We're going to pull in the hips a bit. Okay, maybe we do need to drop the brush size slightly. I think it is a bit big. I'm going to pull in the hips, as you can see, to create a nice rounder kind of top of the leg, if you will. Let's see if you can see it on the sprites. But like, you know, well, you've got legs, hopefully. I'm going to assume the majority of my audience probably do have their legs. but you know how it kind of bulges out of the bottom of your torso very slightly. Well, not, well, depends on who you are. Obviously, if, you know, some people it bends out quite a bit, other people not so much. But the general idea is that good anatomy, kind of, if you're just making a very basic thing that you then are working off of, this is like a base model, if you will, you have that kind of thing. The next thing we want to do is we want to make a kind of make the connection between this center point, the mirror, and the bottom of our thigh. So this bit, we want to make it a kind of a nice archway circle, quarter circle sort of motion. As you can see here, it's quite a blocky duh. And I mean, that's just a mess. I don't even know what happened there. I definitely made some mistake somewhere. I think maybe I dragged things around too much. But whatever the case is, we want to go into, there's, you know, many ways we could have done this, but we're going to go into scope mode. And we're just going to pull things around. And we're going to try and create that a nicer shape. A shape more accurate to what we want. Definitely made a mistake there. I think maybe I'm pulling in the front too much or something. I think maybe I'm not pulling in the hip. I think I'm not pulling the hip enough. We're going to pull these in slightly. Yes, that's looking a lot better. I mean, if you compare to what we had before and what it's supposed to look like, that's a lot better. We'd really messed up last time. And, you know, we're just flicking between edit mode and scope mode because we're sculpting, because we want that kind of broad, easy, moving things around. It's a bit more of a problem on edit mode than it is on scope mode. And then we're just going back into scope mode to check that the topology is doing, in effect, what you want. Next thing, once we've kind of got those arches, and I say that we have good enough, they're good enough for what we need at the moment, we're then going to go and we're going to try and straighten these edges out because they're a bit zigzaggy. So we're going to pull this down, pull that up. Oh, it's a bit, once again, the scope's a bit big. I'm going to pull it down a bit. We're going to pull that down. I'm going to pull that down because it's come up slightly. I think we're going to have to go and do some manual edits on topology later. But we're kind of flaring from the crotch region, this section, we're kind of flaring out into the legs diagonally, is the idea. Yeah, I think they're a bit too small, so we're going to drag those out. That's better. Oh, it's not perfect. Need to pull that up a bit more. Yeah. Let's see. I think we're just going to have to go into edit mode. What the hell's happened there? Was that just... what? I don't know why it's just got a rogue edge appearing, but things are a bit messed up and we want to straighten them out a bit, so we can use our slide tool to straighten, like you can see here. I'm going to pull that out a bit more, kind of around there. And again, this is also theoretically good topology, is to kind of pull things, and you want lines to be, generally speaking, as straight as can be. So it's a lot of kind of pulling things around and then using your slide tool to kind of push them back into place. Like these have kind of flared out. There's tools that you can use to make things exact, but we don't need exact, we just need kind of straight. As long as it's kind of straight, it's good. And then again, these, we want these to be arched somewhat. That's probably a... Oh. Ah, grab from the... Is there a split somewhere? We grabbed that from the wrong side. We'll just pull that up slightly, I would say. And hopefully you can agree that that's a slightly nicer looking crotch now. Slightly nicer looking pelvis. Could probably do with pulling these forward a little bit. Oh, wrong one. GY. Because you'll also probably note that in between your legs, your pelvis does bulge out slightly to an extent. Not a huge amount, but it does, even if you're very, very thin, it should hopefully bulge out from your legs slightly. You'd have to be like a full-on skeleton if it doesn't. Then you'll note that it's a bit blocky at the moment. We're not going to create a very graceful looking character with this, so we are going to select it. We're going to go into the menu. You can't see it from here, but there's a whole system. There's a whole extra menu just off screen here, because I'm just showing you the viewport, but just off screen here, there's a whole range of modifiers. And if we go and select it, we can do all sorts of strange things. So the effect here, where you're seeing that we're only needing to model one side of the mesh, there's a mirror modifier. We're using an add-on to do that, because it makes it just a bit quicker. We can automatically do it. Otherwise, you need to make cuts, and it's like it saves you 10 seconds every time you put on the mirror modifier. But because you do the mirror modifier on practically everything, it saves you a lot of time, over time. But the other, probably one of the other most common ones we're using a lot is the subdivision surface modifier. And if we select that one, look at that. Our hips are suddenly significantly smoother looking. It's like a whole nother thing. Look how much, if you think about how long we spent there with our little blocky, messy, straight lines and the rest of that, if you imagine how long it would have taken us to manually go from that to this, it would have taken a long time. Of course, it can't make this. Effectively, what the subdivision surface modifier has done is in every single one of these faces, like here or here or whatever, it's effectively split that up 4 times, and then it's trying to smooth it out as much as possible. So it's a lot smoother than it used to be. And yeah, you're going to stick this on basically all of your models at some point or another, from what I can gather. Unless you're going for like a PlayStation 1 look or whatever. But if you're making like a proper smooth model, this is going to come in at some point, you're going to apply it. But for now, we just want to stick with this basic thing. But it's good for our scoped mode, because suddenly you have so much more data to work with. So the scoped brushes can do a lot finer work. And this is a fun bit, if you are in the habit of liking Beautiful Woman, because now we get to have fun with sculpting out the butt. So we're just going to pull all of these new points out, all of this new data, and we're going to round this off a bit. We're going to create a nice thing. It's also good because obviously it then distinguishes slightly better from the back and the front. Ooh, let's not do that. We're starting to distort the topology a little bit. Yeah, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. We've been working around it up until now, but we can go and pull this out. We'll straighten out the topology in a moment. Is that good? Let's see, let's compare. Maybe it's a bit exaggerated, but we'll push it back in a little bit more. Also smooths out the topology, makes things a bit easier for me at the moment. Yeah. I don't know what's suddenly not doing anything. Oh, zoomed out a bit too much for the brush size there. There we go. I think that's probably good for the character we're doing. Oh, that's good for now. Again, the thing with sculpting modifiers is that it works at any time. You can just come back in a moment and you can figure that out. Now, sculpting has made a few problems here and there, the subdivision surface modifier, with moving some of our topology around, some of our points, so they're no longer as straight as they used to be. That's not great. You don't want to have that. But we can go and fix that later. What we want to do now, we want to select the bottom of our thigh, or the top of our thigh, I suppose this is, but at the moment it's the very bottom. And we want to straighten this out. And an easy, simple way to do that is just to scale it by the Z-axis. As you push it in, kind of moves things around, it makes things a lot straighter. Well, not a lot straighter, because ours was already fairly straight. We didn't need to worry too much. And this is the point where we can kind of straighten things out a bit. So just a few moments just to grab some points that look a little bit like they're in slightly the wrong place. And we can straighten them out a bit. It's probably good if we go and select this top path and also do what we did on the bottom, because I think this is also come out a bit. And we want them to be straight on every kind of axis, if you will. So it's good that they're straight top to bottom. Sorry, straight from side to side, but we also want them to be straight from top to bottom. Oh. So we're going to pull things out a bit, like so. So obviously it's not going to be perfectly straight, because the kind of differences between things is exactly how you end up making shapes. But, we can straighten things out a bit. Here a slightly firmer backside, in all manners of the word. And now Control 1. The way that I've been kind of quickly going from like this view to this view is on the number pad. If you've got that on your keyboard, you can just press 1, 3, or 7 to quickly dive around the thing. So Control 1 puts us from the back view. And again, we're just sliding things. There we go, that's nice and round. We push that quite a bit more than it needs to. Have we completely destroyed our butt shape? A little bit, right. We'll grab the entire edge here. And this one. And we'll just move it all to the left a bit. And does that fix the problem? Again, it's not perfect, but even now we don't have a huge amount of data to work with. We have flattened it out a bit. Let's grab... Yeah, it's really not got much to work with. We'll also grab this one. And we're going to... There we go. I'm going to move it a bit closer because we want it to be a bit denser on that side. G... X... Sorry, G... No, what's going on? Y... Yep. I'm going to pull these out somewhat. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to go and grab this, and we're going to reapply the circle modifier. And then just do it that way. It does have a bit of a habit of swirling the things around. That's what I like to call it. But you can just move things around like that. That one, these two are very swirled. They're all over the place. GG. And GG. It's not quite as perfect of a circle as it once was, but, you know, your legs aren't perfect circles. Fortunately, some of my messages are not showing inside. I did have a bit of an inkling that was probably happening because the chat rate that I get on my stats and what I'm actually seeing in terms of chat are completely different. So it's saying that I'm getting like several messages a minute and they're not showing up. So yeah, I had a bit of an inclination that things probably weren't coming up. But yeah, there we are. Very right. I'm gonna pull these out a bit. So we're gonna go OG X-ray. I'm gonna go pull GX like so, and then we're gonna go and straighten these out again with GG. And there we go. She's not exactly the kind of woman whose legs fuse back together, if you will. Like, she's not some sort of mermaid. So we do want them they were kind of going in like a full-on circle motion, and we don't really want that. Is that good for now? Some of the sub-topology, so what the subdivision surface modifier is doing is a bit strange, but I'd say we're more or less there in terms of actual topology, the stuff that we really have control over. Let's see. I'm going to move this slightly. I think it's a bit overcast, effectively, for lack of a better term. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's good. With that, we now have our pelvis. Again, we will revisit this eventually to further sculpt it out, but that's good for now. So we can go and actually do something new with it. So we can press E. Sorry, we can Alt select this to grab all of the... My mouse is all over the place. There was nowhere near that. We can do that. We can extrude upwards. So E and Z to make sure it goes straight up. And I find that we want to go to about 5. We'll go to about... Yeah, 5's good. We do that. We then want to go and loop cut it. 4 times is safe. We're going to shrink it down slightly. You want a consistent kind of size to your faces. You want your faces to generally be fairly consistently sized. So they were a bit bigger than the ones on our pelvis. That's better. And then we can right click once we've made our loop cuts, and it'll make sure it snaps and stays in the middle. They don't get dragged around. There we are. There is our body. It's a bit strange looking from the side, and I really would like to know where this line's coming from. Why is that? Oh, it's the... That's what it is. It's the picture. It's the... we're seeing the very edge of the picture, and I was thinking it was edge of this. What's going on? But there we are. There is our torso. And we're just going to keep it like that, really. Like, does anything else need to happen there? I think that's strong. But in reality, what we're going to do is we're going to grab this edge. It's a bit heart-shaped at the moment, but, you know, is what it is. We grab it. We press E to extrude. We're not going to be holding Shift or Z or anything this time. We're just going to grab it. We're going to move it in, and these are the very start of our collarbone, effectively. Strange though it looks at the moment, but trust me, this is the start of our shoulders and collarbone, and leading up to our neck, effectively. With that, I think it's... I'm trying to remember what we're connecting here. I've just written create edge between central neck vertices, which I think, if I remember correctly, are these ones. F to make the line, Control R to make the cut. And then we just grab any edge, FF, like so. We are going to pull that in slightly, like so. Something's not quite right. I'm going to grab these. And I'm just going to push them in a little bit. Is that fixing the problem somewhat? Okay, that's slightly better, I think. It's a little bit messy up here at the top. Yeah, things are very much distorted there. But we grab this. We're kind of creating a circle shape here. Very rough one. That's why we're not using the circle tool. We're just making a kind of very rough circle shape. I think that's good. Just versus straight edge flow. These ones are going to be the shoulder and the collarbone, so they want to be straightened a bit more. But that's good. I think we've more or less got it. Yeah, there we go. That's a nice circle shape. So what we do now is we Alt, we grab this. It's a bit sharp at the back, but is what it is. We can then extrude again. I'm going to make it smaller as it comes out. How big's her neck? Quite a long one, actually. So that should do. We're then going to scale it as it comes up, because of course your neck isn't perfectly the same size as where it comes out the top of your torso. Again, it's a bit strange for now, but that's just what the subdivision surface modifier is doing, seeing as we haven't applied it yet. When do we apply it? Give me a sec. I'm sure I probably wrote somewhere where we apply it. Otherwise, we're just kind of guessing. Give me a sec. I just want to check that I definitely did write down where we're applying the subsurface modifier. Oh, crap. That's something. An important thing, obviously, is that we need to apply the subdivision surface modifier, so all of this extra geometry does actually become real at some point. Just going to see, where does that happen? Right, so it's there. It's after the neck. Maybe I just use a different term. Ah, yes, there we are. Okay. We don't have more modifiers at this point, we're fine. But we are going to expand this out slightly more. SX, straighten that out slightly. I'm also going to flatten it with the old SZ Z strategy, because the back's annoying me. The fact that the back's higher than the front. It doesn't matter so much on... Actually, we are going to do it on that side as well. Oops. Sorry if it looks like I'm being a bit facetious, but this is the sort of thing you do a lot. Ultimately, all the modeling just comes down to this, doing that a lot. Okay, now we are in a... Oh, nope. Forgot I was on vertices select. Nope. What happens when you stick X-ray on? We now add a crease, I think. Too far down. Yep. We can now edge crease. What that means is that we can affect how straight the things go down. So it just means that it's a bit... Obviously, when you get to your head, your neck kind of comes straight out of it. It doesn't like smooth into it, if that makes sense. It's, unless you're like some massive bodybuilder, your neck, there is some degree of suddenness to the extrusion of your neck. Like there isn't some like sloping straight into it, you know. It kind of juts out to an extent. Using our example there. Right, with that, we are now in a position to look at adding an arm. So I think it's... Nope, it's a quick modifier. I think it's this one that's used as the arm, yes, I think. Yep, we're saying that's the arm. If it's not, we're going to have a very strange looking Red Sonja ripoff in a moment. Yep, that's it. That's definitely the one. I think it's pretty straight at the moment. Sometimes it's SX that you need to use to straighten things out. But we're also going to pull out something like that. There we go. These are our shoulders. Again, they're very, very broad. Could probably do with... grabbing these and moving them up slightly. That'll be fine. That'll be fine. Is what it is again. If things look a bit strange, it is what it is. Already you can see that the torso is kind of all over the place, like the pelvis is huge. But that's why we're now going to pull in the hips. What we do here is we scale it down. And then GG, or as to say ZX, to do that. And then we Alt select these ones, scale them down as well, And then also GX. Not sure why I didn't grab the back. This is why sometimes it's good to have... You just need to check these things sometimes. Right, we'll do that again. Scale GX. Pull them in for the hips. We then do the same with these ones. Selecting that definitely this time everything's selected. Scale it down. GX. And there we go. It's a bit Barbie doll, but it'll do for now. Again, we'll sculpt things around, we'll move things around. It'll be a bit smoother by the end of it. Hopefully. The general idea is at the moment we just want to get the mess done, and then once that's finished, we can use our good topology and all of our good design decisions up to that point, and we can just sculpt things to make more clear, to more clearly produce that kind of body shape. At the moment, it's just a case of getting a good base mess, is what the term used to describe it. But now that that's done, now the waist is there, we are going to select these, circle, maybe rotate it around the y-axis slightly. Nope, not the y-axis, RX, yep. Just to kind of straighten out some of the edge flow. With that, we then select it, extrude it, like there, about there, yep. Split this, so F, Control R, point there, good, to do this, boom. We're angling this out for an arm, so like there, there. We're going for an A pose, if you couldn't guess. And once that's done, we select it all, we extrude again. This is the base of our arm in effect. And we're again going to flatten it out. None of the usual scaling tips work, so we're just going to have to... Probably helps if we made sure they were still circles. Oh, let's not do it on that one though. But now that that's a circle modifier, straighten it at least there. Ooh. Scale G. They're a bit small, but again, we'll work on it over time. Shoulders are a bit massive, but it is what it is. You know, we can always grab points and do like that. It's a bit better. Ugh, bit all over the place, but there we are. Right, now we've got our body. We're going to make some sculpting tweaks to make it look less horrifying. So, edit mode, sculpt mode, and we're going to make some big tweaks. So we're going to really make our brush massive. I'm going to push this back. I'm going to shrink it down a bit more so that we're not grabbing both versions. Ooh, we really grabbed the soldier's the problem. Kind of want to grab the soldier separately, so... Oh, and now we're clipping. Sometimes you can get really nasty clipping if your brush is too big and you get too near an edge, if you get too near the mirror. So we're going to be doing just a lot of little tweaking here. Stuff like this, with the aim of making a slightly more human looking torso, because it has gone very odd. Looking like a character at a quicker pace than I previously imagined. Yeah, we have had to stop and do a couple more tweaks than I had hoped for. But it's looking good. I think there's a whole thing about, you know, front and back. I think our back looks better than our front, to be honest. Let's see. Usually these will come later, but we can make tweaks now to the body shape. Our topology is a bit messed up, but that's fine. If this was a official game model or whatever, you'd have to go and be tweaking all of that at the end anyway, so we might as well make some mistakes now. This was ultimately all practice. Let's see. That'll do. Ooh, voice crack. But that will do for now. But it's important, though, that we drag this out somewhat closer to the center of the torso, because it's going to be our breast. You might notice he's got some. Obviously, with a male character, we won't bother doing this, but because she is, in fact, a female character, we're going to have to do this. So we're going to do that. We're going to select our opening, like so. You can't see it, but on this side we have a clipping function on the mirror, which means that if we have two vertices, like say here and here, and we drag them into the middle, it creates one unified mess. But we're going to turn that off, because as we extrude this time, we want to... Ooh, nope. Want it to be two separate things, because unless you want a uni breast, which doesn't sound the most appealing, you want two separate designs. Ooh, that's a bit whatever, but we're gonna go and we're not going to bother doing that yet. We're just going to use the G tool. This isn't right. That's supposed to come with us when we make the loop. But somehow it's not being registered in that. And that's a problem, because we're going to end up with some very strange looking breasts. So why is it not linking it as part of that edge? Let's try really doing some... Oh, okay, that's just the mess. Okay, so what we're actually doing is grabbing all of these, and then also that. We're extruding again. That's the shape that we were looking for. I was about to say, it's very strange looking things. It's not quite working properly. But that's much more what we're looking for. More important than ever, though, that we flatten it with SY. Because at this point they are going to look quite boxy, but it's with the idea that we can then fix it up later. I think I moved around some things during this session, which is why some of the points are kind of all over the place. There, okay. There we go. It's like, why is it not letting me select that? It's clearly like overlaying with stuff. You're not really supposed to make it a circle at this point, but we're going to. Just because it makes things a bit easier for me to imagine. Right. With that, okay, we're going to pull it out a little bit further, because I was thinking that we add extra loop cards, but that comes later. So we're just pulling them out quite drastically for now. More drastically than I thought and remembered based on the tutorial. Create edge and center and cut once. then 2 FF, FF, boom. Again, they look very odd at the moment. I think that's what they're supposed to look like based on the tutorial. I think that's what they're supposed to look like at this stage. Right, yeah, okay. Let's see, say it's smooth. There we are. Yeah, not so bad. Faces to fill in, stayed smooth, add loop. You're right, okay. If we've done it right, we can do something like that. Yep. Because we've got our good topology, that means that we can just add detail wherever we need it. In this case, in the center of the breast, that would mean that there's going to be significantly more detail in that area. Yep. Oh no, that's not where I was supposed to put it. That comes later. That one goes, the loop cut goes within the breast itself. Okay, no, right, I'm getting my instructions now. That one goes here, then we select this loop, scale it down, and we pull also this vertice out. That's what I wanted us to do. As you can see, it's now significantly rounder, it's a lot less boxy. And then we add another one at the base, which will help us with shaping it just in a moment. Let's pull these ones in, because our topology is getting a bit wacky. Here's what it is for now. I think this is the point where we go back into scope mode. Yep, right. Now we go into scope mode again. This is the point where we just do some tweaks to kind of make them see a bit more real, a bit rounder. Ooh, what is causing that? I think they're just a bit too close to the edge. So you gotta be careful about stuff like that happening. As you can see, the shading's a bit weird. Hopefully we can fix that with time. But yeah, the main point at the moment is just to kind of get them to sit on the chest. Especially up here, because they're a bit odd looking at the top. Not really. There we are, that's a bit better. It's great working near the mirror. Problem with them is they're generally this. Ooh, that's strange. Strange, okay. Push them in a bit there. Where's it? Okay, I think they need to be evened out a bit. I think that's the problem. It's supposed to be a teardrop shape. So I think it's push them in and up. Oh no, that's strange. mirror is broken. Push them up a bit more. Shading's all kind of weird. But that'll do. I think it's just the fact there's too many edges too close to each other. That's a bit better. Then I think if we GG as well here and here. Generally just try and get things away from the mirror. I think that should make things, yeah, a little bit better. Now I need head, arms and legs. Well, we'll get the hands hopefully. The arms and legs will come. It'll just be what's attached to them. That will be in a future stream most likely. But the arms and legs will be there once we're finished. You can always enhance the teardrop shape from here. It doesn't all have to be scope mode. But I'm happy with those for now. Again, we don't have the best reference to work with. It's not like a full-on model suit or anything. It's just a kind of a picture of the character, which isn't really good enough for a full-on modeling thing. But it's just, again, we're going for a pretty generic-looking woman at the moment. Right, and now we put clipping back on to make sure no further mistakes can happen. Portions are a little bit strange. I think in general, we need to pull this up a bit. Oh, caps lock again, not shift. Again, if nothing else, I'm going to be learning how to touch type better based on this. Skip these ones. Let's see. I think we're pretty happy with that. It's not so much that, I can't do a head, to be frank. It's just I haven't gotten to that bit of the tutorial yet. I've just done the torso, the arms, the hands, and the feet from the creator I'm basing this off of. So I could do the head, but it would be all over the place. It wouldn't look right. It wouldn't fit on top of this character very well. So we're not going to do the head just yet. I'm going to go and shade flat this again now. Ooh. There you go. You can see some of the strange bits of topology now. But that should be fine for now. I think that's just what happens when you have that much detail in one place. That sort of thing's bound to happen. That's a bit awkward. That shows us where some of the edges are a bit sharp, but we can't really do anything about that until our subdivision surface modifier is ready. Making 3D models is just so time consuming. Well, on the plus side, this is someone who doesn't really know what they're doing. So it wouldn't take this long for create a proper pro to do things. It's just that because I don't really know what I'm doing. Well, I don't know what I'm doing, so these sorts of mistakes happen. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're just going to do the bottom edges. I'm just going to do these, make them a bit closer. She may have pretty good hips, but we need to make these a bit closer to each other. That's better. Let's scale them up a bit. It just closes off that gap between the legs a little bit. In general, something went wrong right at the start of the process. I think I made it a bit too wide, so we've ended up with quite a large crotch gap, which probably shouldn't happen. It's not perfect. Ooh, that one's nasty. Let's go smooth that out. Let's see, that one's too low. That one will also bring up. What is, okay, there's another one there. It's not as bad as I thought. I think we're more or less ready. I mean, that's as straight as it's going to be for what it is to add our modifiers. So we apply our mirror modifier, which means that boom, that's what it's been doing. Everything's now, you can see how the mirror modifier worked. And now we are going to add our subdivision surface modifier. So we apply it, and then if we look at the surface, boom, look at that. All of a sudden, there are tons of extra points, and this is what the subdivision surface modifier has been doing the entire time. It's been making all of these extra points all over the place to give us more to work with. Right, and now we immediately auto mirror again, because there's no point working outside of the auto mirror. And we're going to start using a tool called the knife tool to make some topology edits, to make things look a bit nicer and work a bit better. So we polar this thing called a pole up. You'll notice that most everything's made out of quads, so that's 4 points, but every so often you end up with a pole, and that's 5 points. You generally want to avoid them apparently. But we pull this up, we connect these 2 points, press edit with the knife tool, and look at that, we've all of a sudden got all of this extra stuff. And that just improves some flows. So if I remember correctly, it's we then delete or dissolve this edge. Yep. And then it's a case that we bring this down to kind of keep this arch shape edge flow done. And then we bring this one down. Or we merge these two together. Oh no, we just end with, okay. Right, well, whatever. That's what the tutorial said, so we're just going to trust it. I think it's this. Should have checked that tutorial another time before I started this. But it said something about a pole there, so we're just going to say that. With that, we now knife from the crotch to the waist. So from about here to about there, then to about there. No, that's a bit too high. To about there, then we terminate here. That's good, that gives us some extra tools to work with. We can now grab these. Pull them in. Oh, that's a bit sharp. Let's go grab him again. We've got a bit of a crack there now, so that's good to produce more voluminous thing. I've got a note that says move pole on back of hips to side and increase density. I have no idea what that could possibly be referring to. I'm not seeing a pole on the side of the hips. So we're going to ignore it and hope that it doesn't come back to bite us. But now what we can do is face select 3. And we're going to select all of the constituent parts of the butt. So I'd say up to about there. So here and here. Basically everything other than the central crease. Maybe that's the pole. But we're then going to... There's a way to do the opposite of hiding. Sift H, there we go. And we've selected these because now we're going to go through with the edge tool. And we are going to go and relax everything. Which should make some of the curves a bit smoother. And we're also going to do top to bottom as well. There's a whole step where you can go and add some extra stuff now if you feel that it's a bit lacking in detail, but I think that's fine. So you can now Alt hates to sew everything up again. That one's a bit strange, but we'll make do. That's why everything gets split into triangles when you move things into game engines, apparently. To kind of makes, because if you have quads, it can do stuff like that. So we're going to move that in there. Does that fix things a bit? Oh well. This is the nature of the... Ooh, okay, no, it's definitely... Need to fix it. Because it's causing all sorts of weird effects. Oh, that'll do. We can come back to all of these things later. And extra cuts volume, unmask, mid loose. We're not doing that. Knife between back and front of collar. Let's just skip all of this. We made some mistakes. Let's just finish this now with the arms and legs. So to do that is very simple. Nothing complicated about it. It's already better than the 3D model for Eggman. Yeah, because I'm following the tutorial a lot more closely. Whereas with Eggman, I made a fairly standard model, fairly standard male model, and realized, wait, Eggman's really fat, so I got to make him way bigger than he is, and I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So all I did was just grab all of the vertices, all of these edge loops here. They're all sort of messed up because I didn't understand all of this topology stuff. I was just grabbing all of them, and I was just exploding them out with the scale tool, and then giving them a dozen, and then just pressing the relax tool on everything, and it just created that weird, floppy, horrible thing that you saw earlier. Now we're making something a lot more graceful, I would argue. Yep, I say that's good to go. Now, extruding the arms and legs is simple. We just grab that. We press E. And then we do it to about there. We scale it down. And there's our arms. That's it. That's all we're doing for the arms. We'll just release the character like that. I don't know how to do that. That's something to do with the knife tool, but we don't need to do it. That's something that you would do with texturing and normal maps and stuff. Right, and then legs are pretty long, so let's say yeah, about there. And they also get scaled down at the bottom. Yeah, that's good on the legs. Right, this bit's pretty simple theoretically. In practice it's not, but theoretically there aren't actually that many steps in this bit. One thing we are going to have to do though before we continue is we're going to need to get a new reference image. So give me a moment. Here. Let's see. Once my hard drive runs up. You know those like fertility statues? Aaron pointing out fertility gods. You know those fertility statues you have in all of the old ancient civilization sites, and they're all sorts of weird, and it's just like, that's what we used to think was hot back then. It's like, this feels like it would kind of fit in, like this kind of nice torso, albeit with really, really square breasts. They're looking really bad from this angle. And then it just ends up in these like weird, bizarre cuts. But anyway, this is the style we're going for. You can argue on how successfully we've managed it. Yeah, ooh, those breasts really are looking terrible. They're looking worse and worse in comparison. We'll also go and put a version of it here. Nope, no reference. Background. We'll stick a version of it here so we can also see from the sides what we need to do. To be fair, they're not particularly realistic breasts on that one either. But it is what it is. Right. And now we're at this stage. What we need to do is pretty simple, all things considered. All we need to do is add... basically, everywhere that you're seeing like an arrow or a puss in on here, all we need to do is add points there, loop cuts there. So let's start with the knee. I'd say about there. You got to remember that there's going to be extra stuff down there from when we add the foot. But I'd say the knee probably appears about there. We'll then cut it like so on either side. We'll add quite a bit more up at the top. I'd say maybe 2 cuts up at the top for the thighs. And then some cuts around here for the calves. And such is our cuts. I'll have to go to school now. Yep, good luck. Good to see you. Hopefully, next time we do one of these streams, it'll be slightly stronger. Okay, let's not do it just with scale. It's a bit blasé. We'll do it with our scoped mode. Yep, thank you for tuning in, Aaron. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, this is the point where we're going to get a real big brush. Actually, this is more where we're going to use something called proportional editing. Grab a face like so. Like so. Yeah, right. This is the sort of thing where the scoped mode gets really powerful. Because now we've got too many points to realistically use the edit tool in that many situations. So now we can start pulling out the scope tool and really start going to town with it. Just pulling stuff backwards. Go. It's a little bit off by there, but we can really shrink it down and pull it out like so. It's a bit off from that side, but that's why we're now going to come in from here. Still some odd moments here and there, but I'm pretty happy with that for now. Again, this is all ultimately practice. In the future, these will inevitably, well, I say inevitably, but hopefully, they'll get better more easily. Because at the moment, got some funky looking shapes going around. This is only my, second or third model in this method, so can't expect great things straight away. But similar story here. That's good, that'll be enough, hopefully. Scope mode. We shrink it down quite a bit because the arm's more narrow than the legs, so they'll start getting wonky much faster. Less pulling and prodding, prodding and pulling. And this is the point where you would see in official game developers, if this was like their base model, obviously theirs would probably be fully complete, maybe have a head and stuff on there already. But this is the point where they'd start doing things like defining muscles, changing some of that basic stuff that's not too complicated, while keeping the general gist of the model around. So for example here, they might go something as simple as Alt, Control +++, you know, select the whole arm and scale it up. Let's turn off proportional editing. Okay, let's not turn off proportional editing, let's just shrink it. then like SX, and start doing stuff like that to really like pull things. Obviously, you need to be a bit more delicate than I was there, because else you're going to get some really funky looking stuff. But in general, that's the gist of it. That's the gist of making a very basic 3D model. Yeah, so I'm still got a lot to learn in terms of things like anatomy, perfecting this method, that sort of thing. But you can see, hopefully, the general idea behind it. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap the stream up there, guys. My headphones, if nothing else, are starting to run out of battery, so I can't actually keep going for much longer anyway. Pigman, hi the Wolfman. Yeah, you've come in just as the stream's about to end. My headphones are going, so I can't actually... If I was to play anything, I can't hear anything. They're starting to get a bit weird now that their noise-cancelling properties are starting to go. So, I think I'm going to end it there. Next time we do a stream, hopefully, I'll have practiced the head tutorial, so I'll be able to do that. I've already practiced the arms, but I can practice it a bit more in the meantime. And also, big thing, hair and stuff. Probably aren't going to be any streams next week. I'm not in a position to work in front of my computer for most of it, so it's unlikely that I'm going to be doing much of anything next week. You know, making videos, doing much of anything. So that's probably not going to happen. But the week after that, and then, you know, weeks beyond that as well, hopefully we'll be in a better position to start working on these things. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll probably work on this a little in the meantime, just to kind of get some of the topology, you know, fixed. I'll figure out what I was talking about with some of the topology fixes, like around here, because I was all over the place. I have no idea what I was talking about. I've written in my notes and then I'm just staring blankly at them. But I'll figure out what I was talking about. I'll put those in motion. I'll fix some of the shading issues. I'll generally try and match the proportions a bit more. This is ultimately to produce a very much a kind of Genshin Impact sort of style with all of this. So not perfect for what I'm trying to do, which is slightly more realistic. But it's just generally a good way to learn where the topology needs to be, how it needs to go, that sort of thing. More than anything. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you all for tuning in, everyone. I'll see you next time. But for now, adios and ciao.